can't open my notes, so I'm going to try to formulate the question. But it was on 2 Samuel 11, verses 8 and 9.
2 Samuel 11, verses 8 and 9. And David said to Uriah, "Go down to thy house and wash thy feet." And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house.
So this is very curious to me. I've been looking at these couple of verses. Specifically, I've been looking at the fact that, number one, David is a type of Christ, not in this circumstance, but generally he's a type of Christ in the Bible?
Almost always, and I wouldn't rule out that he's not a type of Christ here.
So here's my question. When I was doing a word study on it, right, well, number one, we're not told, like, David says to him, go wash your own feet, go wash your feet. And then he gives him this mess of meat, which, for what we know, he probably refused it, right? So then Uriah's action is to not go down to do with Bathsheba. Instead, he lays down at the door of the king's house, right? And he sleeps at the door. So when I was, and tell me if I'm on the right path or not, because when I was looking at this, and I looked at the word he slept, I think that translates out to lays, or lays down. And the other one is the door. In some cases, I think that's translated as tabernacle. So I'm really confused as to, like, is Uriah a picture of somebody? I mean, what is Uriah a picture?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help you because I'm confused too. It's difficult because David's normally a type of Christ. He's committed adultery with Bathsheba. Uriah is Bathsheba's husband, and he's come back from battle. And David wants him to go down on his house to lie with his wife so he can avoid what he did and escape the sin of adultery. But he's an honorable man, a very honorable man. And he says, my lord Joab and the army are dwelling in tents, and so I'm not going to go down to my house and lay with my wife. And that's why he's laying at the door of the king. And it winds up that David sends him back with a message to Joab, and the message tells Joab to put him at the highest or the hottest part of the battle and to retire from him. Basically, it's to kill him, it's to murder him using the enemy, and it was murder, and historically, and Uriah did die that way. And upon Uriah's death, Bathsheba is free because death legally separates marriage, and she could marry David, and he enters into marriage with her. So it would appear that Bathsheba is a type of the elect, and the only thing, or just to maybe help a line of thought, Uriah perhaps is a figure of the law, because we're all married to the law prior to being freed from the law through Christ's death, and then we're free to marry another who is Jesus himself. Now Jesus, the law is also Christ, because the law is the Word, and Christ is the Word. So it's possible that Uriah is a figure of God himself as the law. But it's not something that I've been able to, kind of work out and lay out, and everything fits. That's just suggested area of, certain direction maybe you can look at.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.